She was arranging funeral flowers when the drone's engine note changed from delivery mode to attack formation. Maya Thompson dropped her roses, grabbed equipment she'd hidden for 8 years, and had one shot to prevent the children's hospital from becoming a graveyard. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we begin this powerful story of courage, skill, and forgotten heroism, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are. Maya Thompson chose St. Catherine's Children's Hospital for a reason that had nothing to do with flowers. When she applied for the greenhouse position 6 years ago, she'd studied satellite images, building schematics and security protocols with the same precision she'd once used to select sniper positions in Afghanistan. The greenhouse sat 47 meters from the main hospital building, with unobstructed sightlines to the helicopter landing pad, emergency vehicle bay, and all primary entrances. To hospital administrators reviewing her application, Maya's horticultural background made her perfect for the job. What they didn't know was that her landscaping experience came from 8 years as Staff Sergeant Maya Thompson, 75th Ranger Regiment, where she'd learned to camouflage deadly positions as ordinary spaces. At 5:30 a.m., Maya unlocked the greenhouse doors as she had every morning for 6 years. The glass structure overlooked the healing garden where 280 young patients fought battles no child should face. Her hands moved with surgical precision, arranging white lilies for the Patterson family. Their 4-year-old son had lost his fight against leukemia during the night. "Morning, Maya," called Dr. James Wilson, head of pediatric surgery, passing by the windows. The roses you brought to Tommy's room yesterday made him smile for the first time since his operation. "That's what they're for," Maya replied, her voice carrying the gentle warmth that had made her beloved by staff and families. Her dark blonde hair was pulled back practically, and she wore flower print scrubs that had become her uniform. What Dr. Wilson couldn't know was that Maya's transformation from Army Ranger to hospital florist hadn't been about finding peace. It had been about finding purpose. After 89 confirmed eliminations across 4 combat zones, she'd grown tired of protecting American interests abroad. She wanted to protect American children at home. The greenhouse positioning wasn't coincidence. Maya had spent months researching potential terrorist targets in the city, identifying locations where her particular skills might be needed. St. Catherine's Children's Hospital topped every threat assessment list she'd compiled: high symbolic value, minimal security, maximum potential casualties, and geographic isolation that would delay law enforcement response. She'd been waiting 8 years for something like this morning. At 9:47 a.m., while arranging funeral flowers, Maya heard the sound she'd been expecting for 6 years. Most people wouldn't distinguish between civilian medical delivery drones and military-grade aircraft, but Maya's ears had been trained to identify threats by acoustic signature alone. The drone approaching from the southeast carried the wrong engine note. Too high-pitched for medical supply payload, too steady for civilian navigation systems, too purposeful for routine delivery. This was military hardware operating under hostile intent. Maya tracked the sound until she spotted the aircraft, a dark silhouette against morning clouds, approximately 800 meters out and closing on the hospital. To anyone else, it looked like routine medical supply delivery. To someone who'd spent years identifying aerial threats in combat zones, it looked like death approaching at 45 kilometers per hour. She immediately called hospital security. "Security, this is Brad." "Brad, it's Maya in the greenhouse, the drone approaching from the southeast." "Is that scheduled?" "Hold on." A pause as he checked delivery logs. "Yeah, shows up as medical supplies to the 4th floor. Should be landing in about 3 minutes." Maya's blood went cold. The 4th floor housed pediatric intensive care, 37 children on life support, completely helpless if the building came under attack. "Brad, I need you to evacuate the fourth floor immediately. What? Maya, it's just a supply drop. We get them every day. Something's wrong with this one. The flight pattern is all wrong. Sarah, you arrange flowers, not aircraft. The drone is authorized, cleared through all our systems. The line went dead, leaving Maya staring at her phone for exactly 2 seconds before military training overrode 6 years of civilian cover. She wasn't Maya the florist anymore. She was Staff Sergeant Thompson, and she had a tactical situation developing with civilian casualties imminent. Maya sprinted to the rear corner of the greenhouse where a section of decorative river stones concealed what appeared to be irrigation equipment. Beneath the false panel lay a waterproof case containing gear she'd maintained obsessively for 6 years while praying she'd never need it again. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency as she assembled the M24 sniper weapon system, each component fitting together with muscle memory that transcended time. Stock, barrel, scope, bolt. The rifle took shape like a familiar prayer spoken in a language of precision and lethality. Through the scope, she could see the drone more clearly. It was significantly larger than standard medical delivery aircraft, with payload compartments that appeared to contain something far more dangerous than bandages and medications. The flight pattern had shifted from direct approach to circling reconnaissance, as if the operator was confirming target identification before final attack run. Maya's phone buzzed with a desperate text from Dr. Wilson. Maya, strange question, but did you notice anything unusual about today's supply drone? It's been circling for 5 minutes instead of landing, she texted back. Get everyone away from windows. 4th floor evacuation now. This is not a drill. What's happening? Trust me, you have 60 seconds. Maya positioned herself at the greenhouse window with clear line of sight to the target, now 400 meters away, and beginning what appeared to be final approach to the hospital roof. Her breathing slowed to the controlled rhythm she'd learned at sniper school. Inhale, exhale halfway, hold natural point of aim. Through the scope, she watched the drone's payload compartment begin to open, revealing what looked like multiple cylindrical objects packed around a central explosive charge. Her tactical assessment, approximately 50 kilograms of high explosive material, enough to collapse at least 2 floors of the hospital and kill everyone inside. Her phone rang again. Hospital security. Maya, what the hell is going on? Dr. Wilson is evacuating the 4th floor, saying you told him there was danger. Brad, that drone isn't carrying medical supplies. It's carrying a bomb. That's impossible. It's cleared through all our authorization systems. Authorization systems can be hacked. I need you to clear the roof area and get everyone away from windows. Maya, you're a florist. You don't know anything about... Through her scope, Maya watched the payload compartment fully open, confirming her worst assessment. The drone was carrying enough explosive material to turn St. Catherine's Children's Hospital into a smoking crater. Brad, I'm hanging up now. Clear the area. She ended the call and focused entirely on the shot that would determine whether 280 children lived or died. Distance, 380 meters and closing. Wind speed, 12 kilometers per hour from the northwest, requiring approximately 0.3 miles compensation to the right. Target velocity, 35 kilometers per hour in a predictable approach pattern. Time remaining, approximately 45 seconds before the drone reached optimal detonation position directly above the pediatric intensive care unit. Maya's world narrowed to the precise focus she'd learned in some of the world's most dangerous places. Her breathing synchronized with her heartbeat, both slowing to the controlled rhythm necessary for precision shooting under extreme pressure. The greenhouse around her disappeared. The flowers, the peaceful garden, 6 years of quiet civilian life. All of it faded except for the simple physics equation that would determine whether innocent children survived the next minute. Through the scope, she could see the drone operator had begun final attack sequence. The aircraft had shifted into descent pattern that would bring it to approximately 50 meters above the hospital roof, optimal height for maximum structural damage and casualty count. Maya's finger found the trigger with the familiarity of a pianist, touching keys they'd played for decades. The rifle felt heavier than she remembered, weighted not just with steel and precision engineering, but with the knowledge that she was about to cross a line she'd sworn never to cross again. Her phone buzzed with increasingly desperate messages. Doctor. Wilson. 4th floor clear. Maya, what's happening? Nurse Rodriguez. Security is looking for you. They want to know what you told Doctor. Wilson Hospital Administrator. Miss Thompson, report to security immediately. Maya silenced her phone and locked onto the target. The drone was now 320 meters away, beginning its final descent toward the hospital. In 30 seconds, it would be directly above the ward where children like Tommy lay helpless in their recovery beds. The crosshairs settled on the drone's main body, just behind the rotor assembly, where a precision shot would sever the connection between flight control systems and propulsion. It was a difficult shot, hitting a moving target the size of a briefcase at over 300 meters. But Maya had made similar shots under far worse conditions in places where missing meant watching good people die. She exhaled half a breath and held it, applying steady pressure to the trigger. At 9:52 a.m., Staff Sergeant Maya Thompson returned from 6 years of careful civilian disguise. The rifle cracked once, the sound echoing across the hospital grounds like thunder. Through the scope, Maya watched the drone shudder mid-flight as her bullet struck precisely where she'd aimed, severing control systems and sending the aircraft into an uncontrolled spiral. But instead of falling safely away from the hospital, the damaged drone began spinning toward the building in an erratic descent pattern. Maya realized with growing horror that her successful shot had prevented a precise attack, but created an unpredictable one. 50 kilograms of explosives were now tumbling toward a building full of children, with no way to predict the impact point. She had one chance to fix this. Maya chambered a second round and tracked the spinning drone through her scope. The aircraft was descending faster than she'd calculated, rotating unpredictably as damaged systems fought to maintain any kind of control. In approximately 15 seconds, it would impact somewhere on the hospital grounds, potentially still close enough to cause massive casualties. Military training provided the cold clarity she'd learned in life or death situations. She couldn't stop the drone from crashing, but she might be able to influence where it crashed. The aircraft's damaged flight system was still partially functional, which meant a second shot placed precisely could potentially alter its descent trajectory. Maya aimed not for the drone itself, but for a 0.3 meters ahead of its projected path, calculating wind resistance, gravitational acceleration, and the aircraft's rate of spin. If she could strike the rear stabilization assembly at exactly the right moment in its rotation cycle, the additional damage might send the drone away from the hospital and toward the empty parking structure 200 meters to the east. It was an impossible shot by any conventional standard. Hitting a spinning target while calculating multiple variables in real time under extreme pressure, while innocent lives hung in the balance. Maya had never attempted anything remotely similar, even during her 8 years of military service in active combat zones. She took the shot anyway. The second bullet struck the drone's rear assembly exactly as Maya had calculated, adding a new vector to its chaotic descent. The aircraft's spin tightened and its trajectory shifted eastward, carrying it away from the hospital building and toward the empty parking garage. Through her scope, Maya watched the drone spiral down, clearing the hospital roof by approximately 30 meters before slamming into the concrete parking structure with enough force to trigger its explosive payload. The detonation lit up the morning sky like a miniature sun, collapsing 2 levels of the empty garage but leaving St. Catherine's Children's Hospital completely untouched. For a moment that felt like eternity, the hospital grounds fell silent except for the ringing echo of the explosion. Then, emergency alarms began blaring as the building's automated systems responded to the blast, and Maya could see staff members running toward windows to stare at the smoking crater where the parking garage had been. She had successfully prevented a mass casualty terrorist attack, but she had also revealed herself in the most dramatic way possible. Her carefully maintained cover as the hospital's gentle florist was obliterated as thoroughly as the parking structure. Within 2 hours, Maya's greenhouse was surrounded by more law enforcement vehicles than the hospital had ever seen. FBI counterterrorism units, ATF explosives experts, local police tactical teams, and military investigators all converged on the small glass building where a florist had just performed what ballistics experts would later call the most precise defensive shooting in domestic law enforcement history. Maya sat in the back of Detective Morrison's car, not under arrest, but certainly not free to leave, while investigators processed a scene that defied every assumption about civilian capabilities and terrorist threat response. "Staff Sergeant Maya Thompson," said Agent Rebecca Hayes from FBI Counterterrorism, sliding into the car beside her. "We've reviewed your military record. Graduated first in your class from sniper school at Fort Benning, 89 confirmed eliminations across 4 combat theaters. Psychological evaluation, noting exceptional performance under extreme pressure." "That's correct. Honorable discharge 8 years ago, no criminal record, no contact with former unit members, and somehow you ended up as a florist at the exact hospital that just came under terrorist attack." Maya maintained steady eye contact. "I like flowers," Agent Hayes smiled grimly. "Sergeant Thompson, that greenhouse window provides perfect overwatch of every critical infrastructure point on this hospital campus. The positioning, the sight lines, the tactical advantages, that's not coincidence. I chose a job with good natural lighting for growing plants. You chose a position that would let you protect 280 children from exactly the kind of attack that happened today." For the first time since the shooting, Maya allowed her carefully maintained cover to slip slightly. "Agent Hayes, are you suggesting I somehow knew this attack was coming?" "I'm suggesting that someone with your background doesn't spend 6 years maintaining combat readiness just to arrange flowers." Maya looked out the car window at the smoking remains of the parking garage, then back at Agent Hayes. "Someone with my background has seen enough dead children in foreign countries. Maybe I decided American children deserved the same protection." Over the next 4 hours, Maya was debriefed by investigators who confirmed what the ballistics evidence already proved: the shots that had saved St. Catherine's Hospital were impossible for anyone without extensive military training and combat experience. The drone had been carrying 47 kilograms of plastic explosive, enough to collapse the pediatric ward and kill everyone inside. As evening approached, Detective Morrison returned to drive Maya home. "You're free to go, but there's something you should know. The security guard who was injured by falling debris from the explosion, Tom Rodriguez, he's been asking to meet you. Says he won't leave the hospital until he can thank whoever saved his life." Maya shook her head. "I don't want to be celebrated for taking a life. You prevented mass murder of children. That's not the same thing as taking a life." An hour later, Maya stood outside Tom Rodriguez's hospital room. Through the partially open door, she could see a man in his 50s with bandaged arms talking quietly with his family. She knocked softly. "Mr. Rodriguez? I'm Maya Thompson." Tom's face transformed with relief and gratitude. "You're the one who... Maya, you saved everyone in this hospital. That drone was going to kill hundreds of children." Maya approached the bed carefully. "I'm glad you're safe." "How did you know?" "The police said it was impossible to identify that drone as a threat from the ground. I used to be in the military." What kind of military training lets you make shots like that? Maya hesitated. The kind that's supposed to stay in the military. Tom reached out and grasped her hand. I don't care about your training or your past. I care that my granddaughter still has a grandfather because of what you did today. For the first time since the shooting, Maya felt tears threatening. I promised myself I'd never touch a rifle again. I wanted to create life, not take it. You did create life today. You gave 280 families their children back. The story broke on local news that evening. Hospital Florist reveals military past, prevents terrorist attack. By morning, it had reached national coverage, then international headlines. Maya's carefully constructed, quiet life was destroyed more thoroughly than the parking garage. But in the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. Instead of media circus and exploitation, the story became about service that continues beyond uniform, about ordinary people with extraordinary skills who choose to use them, protecting the innocent. Maya received thousands of letters from military families, from parents of sick children, from people who understood that heroes often hide in the most ordinary places. She received offers from security companies and military contractors, all of which she politely declined.